Bruce Lee wasn't just a martial artist. He was a revolution, a force that punched through barriers of race, genre, and tradition. When he stepped onto the screen, everything changed. From the fluid motion of his movements to the razor-sharp intensity of his gaze, Bruce Lee didn't just perform, he redefined what it meant to be an action star. Before Bruce, action cinema looked very different. Fistfights were more like dance routines, stiff, slow, and often cartoonish. Heroes threw predictable punches and exaggerated expressions. Bad guys waited politely to get hit. The Western action film, while exciting in its own right, lacked the kinetic energy that Bruce Lee would soon introduce. Even in Hong Kong, where wuxia films with sword-fighting heroes leapt from treetop to treetop, there was nothing quite grounded. No one had quite seen what was coming. And no one was ready for it. Then came Bruce Lee, a man born in San Francisco, raised in Hong Kong, and driven by a mission, to show the world what martial arts really meant. Not just physically, but mentally, philosophically, spiritually. And when he finally landed on international screens, with those iconic yells and lightning-fast strikes, it wasn't just action that changed, it was cinema itself. The moment Bruce Lee delivered his first on-screen sidekick, something shifted. Filmmakers started to notice the power of real, visceral movement. Gone were the overly choreographed, unrealistic punches. In came speed, precision, pain. The camera no longer danced around the action, it leaned in close. You could feel the sweat, the breath, the tension before each blow. And that shift wasn't just technical, it was emotional. Bruce Lee brought emotion into every punch, every scream. His rage, his discipline, his internal conflict, they were all visible on his face. He wasn't just acting, he was being. Every fight told a story, and that's something modern cinema would come to replicate religiously. Because for Bruce, the fight wasn't just physical. It was existential. Now let's rewind a bit. Back in the early 60s, Bruce Lee was just breaking into the American entertainment industry. He got his first big break with the TV show, The Green Hornet, where he played Kato, the sidekick who quickly stole the spotlight. Hollywood executives didn't quite know what to make of him. He moved differently. He sounded different. He wasn't white, and he wasn't trying to be. But even with limited screen time, Bruce Lee made an impact. His movements were so fast the camera couldn't keep up. Literally. They had to ask him to slow down so the film could capture his punches. Think about that. Hollywood, the epicenter of cinematic illusions, couldn't keep up with this real-life action. That was just the beginning. After frustrations with typecasting and stereotyping in Hollywood, Bruce went back to Hong Kong and changed the game. He starred in The Big Boss, and suddenly, action films had a new godfather. Fist of Fury, Way of the Dragon, and of course, the monumental Enter the Dragon would follow, each film a stepping stone to a new cinematic language. These weren't just martial arts films, they were revolutions. Every frame of these movies inspired generations of actors, directors, stuntmen, and even animators. Bruce's fight choreography broke down the wall between performer and performance. He didn't just defeat opponents, he annihilated limitations. Let's talk about the way he used space. Bruce Lee was a master of spatial awareness. His fights weren't confined to narrow rooms or generic back alleys. He used staircases, hallways, open courtyards. His awareness of his surroundings turned every scene into a stage, and his body into an instrument. He was fluid, like water, as he famously said. This philosophy, of being like water, found its way into the very structure of action scenes in modern cinema. Directors like John Woo, Quentin Tarantino, Chad Stahelski, and the Wachowskis owe much to Bruce Lee. You see it in the John Wick series, with its blend of martial arts, gunplay, and minimal dialogue. You see it in The Matrix, where Keanu Reeves bends physics itself with a kung fu rooted in Lee's legacy. And it's not just the fighting, it's the attitude. Bruce Lee was the first action hero who truly blended intellect and intensity. He was physically dominant, but he also made you think. His quotes are as famous as his kicks. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. That balance of mind and body became a blueprint for characters like Batman, Neo, and even Marvel's Shang-Chi. Now think about Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Donnie Yen. All of them followed the trail Bruce blazed. Jackie brought in comedy, Jet brought elegance, Donnie brought tactical aggression, but the root of their inspiration was Lee. And globally, that ripple effect kept spreading. In Bollywood, actors like Akshay Kumar and Vidyut Jamal cite Bruce as a foundational influence. In Hollywood, even actors like Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt have referenced Lee's discipline and approach. Quentin Tarantino practically built Kill Bill as a love letter to Bruce, from the yellow jumpsuit to the fluid choreography. Now let's shift gears to technique. Bruce Lee's influence on modern stunt work cannot be overstated. Before him, stunts were often dangerous and disorganized. There was no real action choreography. But Bruce changed that. He introduced rhythm, timing, a kind of musicality to violence. Every move had a purpose. Every block had a counter. Every action, a reaction. This approach inspired entire generations of stunt coordinators and fight choreographers. Suddenly, you couldn't just throw a punch and hope it looked good on film. You had to train, rehearse, understand the story behind the move. Bruce Lee brought martial arts out of the dojo and into the director's chair. Let's not forget the camera work. Directors like Ong Lee and Gareth Evans have drawn from Bruce's tight, immersive camera angles. Instead of wide, removed shots, the camera now gets up close and personal, just like Bruce did. You feel every hit. You see every eye twitch. Bruce also changed the pacing of action. He knew how to build tension. Slow moments, pauses, stares, it's what makes a punch hit harder. Watch Enter the Dragon again. Notice how long he takes before each move. That silence isn't empty, it's electric. And modern directors learn that lesson well. Even CGI-heavy blockbusters try to replicate Bruce Lee's realism. That grounded feeling. That idea that the hero's body is a weapon. Marvel's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is a perfect example. Its fight scenes, especially on the bus and in the scaffolding, are direct descendants of Bruce's choreography. Director Destin Daniel Cretton openly credits Lee's influence. Let's talk about diversity. Bruce Lee broke racial barriers in cinema. At a time when Asian characters were often comic relief or background stereotypes, he stood tall as a leading man. He didn't shrink himself for Western audiences. He brought his full identity, language, culture, philosophy, to the screen. And modern cinema is better for it. Today, we have Asian leads in blockbuster franchises. We have films like Everything Everywhere All at Once, Crazy Rich Asians, Raya and the Last Dragon. But make no mistake, Bruce laid the foundation. He kicked that door down, literally and metaphorically. Even video games owe a debt. The Tekken and Street Fighter franchises have characters directly inspired by Bruce Lee. Fei Long, martial law, they're digital echoes of his physical legacy. But let's not sugarcoat it, Bruce Lee wasn't just a performer. He was a perfectionist. He pushed himself relentlessly. His training was legendary. One-finger push-ups, 1,000 kicks a day, weightlifting, meditation, he was a machine. And his discipline became a template for actors who take action seriously. Think Christian Bale in Batman Begins, or Henry Cavill in Man of Steel. They don't just bulk up, they transform. That's the Bruce Lee effect. You don't play the hero. You become the hero. Now let's address the emotional core of it all. Bruce Lee taught us that strength isn't just about muscle. It's about clarity, purpose, control. He brought emotional vulnerability to action cinema. Watch his scene after his master is killed in Fist of Fury. His face contorts with grief, not just rage. That emotional layering has become a staple of modern action heroes. They're not just tough, they're torn. John Wick isn't just killing bad guys, he's grieving. Logan isn't just clawing enemies, he's dying. These characters echo Bruce's core message: the fight outside reflects the fight within. And it wasn't just what Bruce Lee did on screen, it was how he lived. He built bridges between cultures. He studied philosophy, drama, psychology. He wasn't content with being a fighter, he was a student of life. And that intellectual hunger is now part of what makes a great action star. Look at today's best: Keanu Reeves, Donnie Yen, Michelle Yeoh, Tom Hardy, Charlize Theron. They all bring depth, not just brawn. They think. They evolve. That's Bruce's legacy. And his influence isn't fading. It's evolving. Every time a new action film tries to push boundaries, to combine elegance with explosiveness, it's tipping its hat to Bruce Lee. Whether it's a hallway fight in Daredevil, a rooftop chase in Skyfall, or a one-take scene in Extraction, you're seeing Bruce's fingerprints. His shadow looms over every punch thrown and every stunt performed. He's the ghost in the action machine. So where does that leave us? In a world where CGI dominates, where explosions replace emotions, Bruce Lee still stands as a beacon. He reminds us that the truest action comes from within. That a fight scene should be a dance of discipline and heart. That an action hero must first be a human being. Bruce Lee didn't just influence modern action cinema, he is modern action cinema. Every frame that punches through the screen owes something to the man who taught us to kick harder, think deeper, and be like water. Because Bruce Lee didn't just show us how to fight. He showed us how to live.